Hello again, and welcome to the Unspun Yarn. Today, I've got two wonderful guests. I have friend of the channel, Courtney Mazza, and new guest, ManaroGeekTv. Today, we're going to talk about Avasarala um, from The Expanse, who, as anyone who's a fan of The Expanse knows, has the bomb wardrobe of just about anyone on primetime TV right now. So, without any further ado, we'll go ahead and get into it. Um, Courtney has something that she would like to, share
You want to play it
herself.
now?
Yeah, we'll go ahead and do that right now. And
it's the perfect intro for her because it is when she first steps onto the scene in the books. So this is straight from the author's mouth.
Chapter 5. Avasarala. Chrisjen Avasarala, assistant to the Undersecretary of Executive Administration, sat near the end of the table. Her sari was orange, the only splash of color in the otherwise military blue and gray of the meeting. The 7 others with seats at the table were the heads of their respective branches of the United Nations military forces, all of them men. She knew their names, their career paths and psychological profiles, pay rates and political alliances, and who they were sleeping with.
I just think, that's the perfect introduction to her. That's where we meet her in the books, and it just sums her up perfectly.
Well, yes, it does. Because it's the first thing it describes is what the woman is wearing.
Exactly.
The largest, yeah, and as the only quote unquote splash of color in the room, we know that all eyes are going to be drawn to not just any color, but orange of all the colors chosen. Orange, one of the brightest, boldest colors on the wheel. And here she is sitting amongst a room full of men, not just any men, military men, which are used to a certain level of power and authority. And as Manaro, you've been a woman in the military. You know how these type of people are. They're very, one, put together. 2, they command a presence and a respect in the room. And they're all kind of dressed the same, except for like little small details that they know who's got the biggest guns in the room, so to speak. But so it's like,
if I could just
go ahead.
If I could just interject, one of the ways for you to be able to tell a person's history in the military is by the ribbons that they wear, because we are all familiar with their ribbons.
Okay.
And the ribbons kind of tell the story of what their military career is. And so when you look at, we call it a rack.
Mm-hmm.
When you look at the rack, their ribbons or their rack on their chest, you kind of get an idea of who's really been, like, who's had a very stellar career, who's probably had a less than stellar career,
Mm-hmm.
who's been in combat, who hasn't been in combat. Like it pretty much tells the story. And of course, the higher your rack is, like the more roles you have, it really, like, the more distinguished your career is. And so, usually that is how you kind of, get to poke your chest out to show, kind of stand out from whoever else in the room. But Avasarala, her wardrobe is what distinguishes her. Like, that
Right.
is the statement piece. So yeah, y'all are all wearing the same thing. Y'all are all like in this grayish, bluish color, and y'all all kind of blend into the walls.
Mm-hmm.
But when I come in, all eyes get drawn to me.
Exactly. Exactly. And we must, restate that this is not a physically imposing woman, especially as she's described in the novels. I mean, of course, Shuri Agdishloo is beautiful. I mean, she's a stunning actress, and she's going to make a statement anytime she walks in the room, even if she's wearing a bag over her, her body. But in the novelization, she's a woman. She's not a young woman. She's in her, Courtney, would you say she's 70s. Yeah, I was going to say 70s, 80s. She's short, stout, just a very, very quote unquote matronly appearing woman who otherwise, like, somebody would open the door for her, of course, just to be polite, but not because she would, say they would be afraid of her, or it would be more out of a sign of respect, or like dutiful grandson making sure that grandma's taken care of. But
yeah, she's
I
not
feel like
intimidating.
not physically intimidating. And it also mentions too that she knew everything about each and every other person in that room, which is also what she has in her portfolio of power, is individual knowledge, where the skeletons are hanging in people's closets, who's sleeping with who's not sleeping with who, money, how well off they are, everything about them, very detail oriented. So knowledge to her is also power. And she keeps all of those things in her little black book.
I have quotes from were you able to figure out how to bring up the images? Or so from the role play game, this is what she looks like. Okay. And she's described, there are people who appear to run things in the solar system, and then there are the people who really run things. Chrisjen Avasarala, UN Deputy Undersecretary of Executive Administration, is one of the latter, and you would better not fucking forget it. That's how she's described in the role play game. It says
probably
she knows,
in her own words.
Mm-hmm. She knows everyone and anyone with sense. She knows everyone, and anyone with sense in government circles knows her and her true level of influence. It would be easy to mistake a tiny Indian woman in her 70s with long gray hair and dressed in a colorful traditional sari as a kindly grandmother, and that's just as Avasarala prefers it. Much of the time, she's happy to sit in the background of meetings, snacking on pistachios while she absorbs information and plans out the next moves of the UN government. It's far easier to do with people focusing on popular figureheads and not paying any attention to the real levels of power.
Mm-hmm. So when she wants to, she can kind of just sink back into the background, and people will, once she's made her entrance, or once once she's not moving or talking, she can become that unobtrusive person in the corner, just watching and listening, which is always taking in that information. I kind of liken her to a spider that sits at the center of a web of knowledge and information and influence, and she can feel just like the tiniest little tug somewhere on that web, and just her quote unquote spidey senses start tingling. She knows something might be going on. She hasn't maybe put all the pieces to the puzzle together yet, but by having her feelers and senses out that way, she's constantly drawing in information. Go
and
ahead.
she learns and grows throughout the series. So even on the show, when is it Secretary Aaron Wright, or is it the bobblehead that asks her, why don't you ever run for office? And she says, I like getting shit done, and I like keeping my head attached to my neck. But then as the series progresses, she advances in power and becomes more of a public figurehead. And then as that happens, you see her really start to make those statements with her appearance and command a position of power. And she uses techniques like sailing like a Marine, is how they describe it, because it puts those men on their back foot. It makes them, oh, I was looking at you and underestimating you, but you're not what I expect. And as she advances in power and as she becomes more of a public figurehead, she definitely starts to use more of those techniques. They're both masks, but but each one has a specific purpose. When it suits her to kind of be underestimated, she will sit back and just listen and learn, because you learn so much more by listening than speaking, and she realizes that that's an effective technique for her. But then as she's put into the spotlight, she realizes that, everything she says is going to be weighed, and not just what she says, but what she wears and how she presents herself. And we see that all the time with women in power, that when they have a conversation on a public stage, they're not just judged by what they say. They are completely judged by what they wear. And so she chooses bold statement pieces. And, my mom was a teacher, and she always wore these big brooches, because she said that if you want to keep the kids' attention on you, have something that they're going to stare at. Like they might not, be staring at your face every time you're talking, but if they're looking at your brooch, they're still listening to what you're saying. They're still focused on you. And I found that really interesting, because when I'm going to butcher this, Sharia makes public appearances, she has spoken about her various political heroes, and two of her favorite women in politics that she's based this character on were famous for their brooches. And this might be, they're Madeleine Albright and Maggie Peck. So not everybody, loves them, but they were powerful women. And
I love Madeleine Albright. I know a lot of people didn't like her, but I had like tremendous respect for the position she held and how she carried herself. And most people wouldn't find her to be as attractive as Avasarala. Well, the actress who plays Avasarala, but she is in fact kind of like more like the book version from what you're describing, because she wasn't a very tall woman. She was very, a very stout woman. She had short, thin hair, but she, in her own way, presented a feminine side to herself by wearing a statement item on with her wardrobe that gave her a more feminine touch, where she didn't want to be a distraction, but also she still wanted to maintain a level of softness in her.
Yeah, I mean,
I found that another modern day politician, I find very much that she pulls in that same kind of energy that, say, someone like Nancy Pelosi does, who is, a very mature woman, who is very high up in, the halls of power, third in line, if anything happens to, the guy in the White House. She is 2 heartbeats away from running the United States, and she always presents herself very well dressed, very put together. Some pastel suit, the beautiful. She always has her hair perfect. Anytime she's, she has a press conference or whatever, she's always put together to a T, and she's making a statement with what she's wearing. The most clap back moment for that I have in my mind for her is after when she was dealing with our president last year, and they were trying to negotiate during the shutdown, and she left the Oval Office, she left the White House, and she had that she just rocked that Jackie Kennedy look, with the shawl and the big dark glasses, and they were just boom in your face. I am not about to take your BS.
And look at Ruth Bader Ginsburg with her jabbets that she has to wear.
I agree.
But she's always rocking a jabbet that is just like such a funky accessory over that black robe,
Right. You're wearing literally a black robe. You are supposed to be anonymous, to represent not the law itself, the Constitution, the law itself. And they're all, covered in the, to kind of make it more of an anonymity. But always, 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 she's got that little, that little bit right there, just that little something at her neck, to say, I'm here. I'm still a woman. I am still in, I am in power. And Sandra Day O'Connor did the same thing with her big poofy bows that she always had on her blouses, right, right there. So it's just that one little personal touch, that one little statement piece that they allow themselves, even when that's not really kind of what they were, not really what the office is about. But I wanted to take just one little minute, before we got too far into it, to speak about my little piece of bling that I'm wearing today. This was a personal gift from one of my subscribers and friends and Slack members, Lady Leaf Underhill, who makes, if you like this piece, she has a website that you can go to that I linked in the description and see some of her other jewelry pieces, art pieces. I also need to add her Instagram so that if you would like to do something, maybe contact her about commission pieces or what have you. But anyway, she did this specifically for the Avasarala stream with her in mind. So I just wanted to bring that to everybody's attention.
So beautiful.
Yeah, thanks. All right, back to the show.
It is a beautiful piece. It is a beautiful piece.
Yeah. So Manaro, you were
the one thing that I wanted to kind of
go ahead.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, go ahead.
I wanted to, just before we move on, somebody mentioned about the bright colors. I like that they were intentional about using the cultural dress when they dressed Avasarala, because they could have easily dressed her. I mean, they could have still dressed her in some really nice, wardrobe, but the fact that they decided to be intentional about making it represent her culture, I thought that was a very, very brilliant idea to have her dress in her culture, that dress in a way that represents her culture, which is a political statement in and of
Absolutely.
itself, right? Because not only am I a woman in power, but so my heritage also me. Wouldn't have even be
okay. Manaro, you're kind of going in and out there, girl. I think we got about 3 words out of what you were trying to say, which, if I understand correctly, you were bringing attention to the point that the writers made a specific intention to dress and garb her in modern and a modern twist on traditional Indian type garb, which is it's very important that they're recognizing the cultural significance that this woman brings to the table, and not to mix traditional Indian saris. And sometimes they're worn a little differently than how would be traditionally worn by a married woman of that age, and that was also very specific. But yes, and we have people in politics today who are they have flack drawn towards them for if they dare to wear something that is in the least bit culturally significant to them or ethnically significant to them. Just think about all of the flack that Representative oh man, Toledo. Oh gosh, I had this in my head, and
You
don't get.
knew it when we were having this
I
conversation.
know I had this. Yeah,
remember
who were wearing the hijab in Congress, and all of the flack and anti-Muslim sentiments that were just drawn to her just for wearing that, traditional headdress, let alone if she wore like full, costume. So, Rashida Tlaib, thank you. I just crossed it in my brain, and thank you, Amy. Rashida Tlaib, thank you. I'm so sorry if you ever listen to the stream, which I know you probably never will. Right. And Miss Betsy here also has a very good comment that, yes, in real life in America, old women are usually given, dull, drab, type colors or to wear, grays and blacks and khakis, and basically wanting to, I don't know if this is if this is deliberate or not, but they want you to kind of blend into the wallpaper, look like the walls of the DMV, fade into the background, know your place, don't be standing out. Just traditionally just go back into the corner, and we'll be respectful of you, but we're just not really wanting you to draw any attention to yourself. And yeah. Oh, Alicia also made a very good statement here about former President Obama. Yes, the tan suit. Oh my God, the halls of government were just going to fall down because he was wearing that lovely tan suit and to his inauguration. And oh my goodness, Michelle with no sleeves. Smashing my pearls.
Like, what generation do we live in?
Oh my God.
This is all in American politics, and one of the things that I love about this series is the diversity. Like, the leader of Earth might live in New York because that's where the United Nations is, but she's not an American woman. Like, the leader of Earth is an Indian woman, and she is not just a woman of color, but she is representing her nation, representing her culture. And she is representing Earth with that culture. I think that a lot of American authors, when they're imagining the future leadership of Earth, might have chosen an American man, and they did not.
Shock and awe. What? No. even the leader.
I'm sorry. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, please.
Can you guys hear me? Okay. I think there seems to, I don't know why people make a huge deal. America in and of itself is a melting pot. So there is no it's like there isn't a traditional American look because we all come from someplace else. If we were to say there was something traditional, then we have to look at the people who were indigenous to this country prior to everybody else, either coming or being brought over, right? That would be considered more the traditional American look, which would be Native Americans. So everybody else is just, came from someplace else or were brought from someplace else here. So when people start talking about America and, being American, I think they get it kind of twisted. Like, they forget the history of how America was actually founded. So you really can't you don't get to claim it all for yourself. It's everybody. Well,
that is true.
It is now in the spirit of, of equality, everybody's, right? So just because I wear a hijab, or this person wears a sari, or this person wears a kente cloth, that just denotes that we had an origin that we are now displaying, but we are still American.
Absolutely.
If that makes sense.
And don't even get me started on how Native Americans are portrayed. So that's my family. Yeah. Only like war chiefs wore feathers, and
then only in certain
ceremonies.
ceremonies. It's not. They just didn't run around wearing that all the time. That would be like me running around wearing a ball gown. I mean, some people might, but not just to do the dishes or what have you.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's all that
only to do a YouTube stream.
or unless you were playing in Dynasty. Unless you were in Dynasty, because
right.
Dynasty would be the perfect time for you to wear a ball gown and go do like a dish.
Yes. I will bring a dish as long as it doesn't mess up my nails. But yes, and that is correct, because I mean we are all from elsewhere here in the United States, and we need to never ever forget that. Our families all came from somewhere else. We just didn't sprout up here like mushrooms. So, we should definitely keep that in mind. And I did have a senior moment. Thank you, Miss Betsy, for letting me know what that is now. I said Rashida Tlaib, but it was Ilhan Omar with the headdress. Forgive. Sorry about that. Anyway, the point stands. So
before we go too far from Sharia's influences, I wanted to say that two of her other primary influences for portraying the character were Indira Gandhi and Benazir Bhutto, who Indira Gandhi was the third prime minister of India from 1966 to 67. They had a woman in power. And Benazir Bhutto was the first prime minister of Pakistan, which was in 1988. So still ahead of America.
And think about that. These are very
was another one of her influences.
Very, very traditional, and by traditional I mean patriarchal, patriarchy drink, societies, and yet they still were able to place a woman in power well ahead of this. Of course,
both of those women were assassinated, but
you have that. You'll have that, but still, they kick the door open.
Absolutely,
with their little feet, just kick the door right open. And of course,
I have one little Maggie Thatcher quote that I think is just so Avasarala. But I did live in England for years, and I'm well aware that she is not a fan favorite there. But this quote by her is so Avasarala, right? So they called her at the time the Iron Lady as a derogatory slur. But she said in public, "I am the Iron Lady. Tighten your belts."
Right, the mother of austerity politics.
I love her. I thought she was a Margaret Thatcher, right? I thought, I don't know what it is with. I hope y'all can hear me.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is about when you have a woman who exercises authority, and that is. I had asked him before on the prior stream, like, can you be a woman in authority and still be soft? Like, you can't win. Like, if you show any level of authority, like you stand in your authority and you make the tough decisions, even the decisions that people will not like, you're going to get called out of your name. Like, really, they called her the Iron Lady. Why? Because she made the tough and hard decisions that other people didn't like. That was her job.
Mm-hmm.
That was her job.
And that seems to be a trap that a lot of women in the political spectrum seem to have to walk a tightrope around, between being quote unquote likable, because you're not able, you can't get elected if you're not likable. Well, I mean, what does likable have to do with doing my job? Second, but see, if you're too likable, too affable, then you're weak and soft. So they're, like Manaro was saying, you can't win. And this is, I mean, I mean, this is very prevalent in American politics. I can't speak to the politics in Europe, but obviously, Great Britain seems to be, not that different in these types of things. Just you're either, you're either a lamb or, excuse my French, a bitch, and there's very little in between. So, you can't win. You can't win at their game. So you have to play your own game to get ahead. And that's what Avasarala does. She plays her own game. So I just thought that bore mentioning, because I mean, how many women, we may have a future female vice president, just that, has just been announced. And the press and our seating president has already called the dogs on her for, what she said. She's weak. She's this, she's that. She's an African-American female. Oh my God. Oh, God bless her and everything that, she made her bid, and even her failed bid for, to receive nomination is being held over her head. Well, if she failed in her bid, how can she possibly be a great running mate? Well, dude, she wouldn't be a running mate if she hadn't failed in her bid. So she would be the main ticket item. But, she has drawn so much fire from the moment that the woman put her hat in the ring, over a year ago. She's drawn fire from all points, all compass points. And here she is. Yes, she is ready to stand up and do it again and bring it to their face and not back down. So, hey, more power to her. I got to bring this up here. Amy brought up a nice little point. Yes, single mom of Indian descent. East Indian, that is, meaning, of the islands.
Mm-hmm.
So, yes.
I think a lot of times most and I hate to put it this way, but I don't have any other way of putting it. I think a lot of men in power sometimes are afraid of women who have intelligence, and their intelligence may exceed theirs, right? Because it's a mark of control, right? Because at the end of the day, it's about control and power, right? And yes, since I can't beat you intellectually, I have to undermine you. Okay. If I can't beat you intellectually, if I can't meet you on an intellectual level, then now I'm gonna have to play dirty and undercut you, right? To undermine you, to make you look weak and bad, so that I can look better than you. And in essence, it only makes you look weak. Like Avasarala, right? Even when she was making her moves, Aaron Wright was working behind the scenes to undercut her, right?
Absolutely.
Like,
yes.
He was working behind the scenes to undercut her, because in actuality, he wanted the power. He wanted to go to war with Mars so badly, right? And she's trying to keep the peace. She's trying to keep the peace. Now, some of her tactics may have been questionable in how she was going about doing that, but it's like one of those things: does the end justify the means, right? And in the bigger scheme, she's trying to prevent a war. She's trying to maintain a peace treaty. But Aaron Wright, who wants to show, my gun is bigger than yours, he wants to fall back on that tactic as a show of power. He wants to exude power. He wants to be the most powerful for it's kind of, he starts taking this, I don't know who I'm liking this to. Now he starts to get the, I'm empire building now. I'm building the earthen empire. And so now I got to show that our guns are bigger than the Martians and the Belters.
Right. Absolutely. His idea of, unification and bringing everyone together is, yes, bring everyone together under our flag, under our rule, our being his or mine. Not, okay, we're a collective. We're all different. We all bring a lot to the table. Let's talk. Let's work together to solve this common problem that we all have. Avasarala tends to, when she does play, to quote, Cersei Lannister, when she does play the Game of Thrones, her victims, she tries to keep the quote unquote casualties small, minimal, their personal losses. Like she will sacrifice her friendship, her personal friendship with a lifelong a lifelong friendship with an individual to prevent war with Mars. That sacrifice was personal. And when Aaron Wright would play the game, he's like, okay, well, let's take out the moon around. Let's take out Demos. An eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth, a moon for a moon. And hundreds of people died. And that was just something very small. His decisions and his missteps caused the death of hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people.
Well,
just to feed his ego of, political power.
He is the one that had her friend murdered. You know that. It wasn't a suicide.
Absolutely.
Like,
she owned that guilt.
She definitely sacrificed her friendship with that move, but she was defending him. She knew that he would not have been part of a government that was trying to start a war. So she proved it the best way she could. Yes, she had him, reach out to his people, but by doing that, he proved that A, he had nothing to do with it. B, his government was not aware this was even happening. And she prevented a war. So like she didn't, she sold out his confidence, but like she actually saved him from being smeared with the same brush that they were trying to smear the rest of Mars with, that they were starting this war. So she proved the innocence of her friend and of the Martian government with one move, with one phone call. So, I mean, if he had lived, I think he would have forgiven her. He did not kill himself. That was a conspiracy to cover up murder.
Right. But he did tell her, I don't want to play with you anymore. I don't want to play with you anymore.
It hurt my heart.
And that was the last thing that...
But it did eventually lead to his death.
It what?
He did eventually end up getting murdered.
Yeah, there's that.
Right. So, but that, like we were saying, that wasn't Avasarala's fault, even though she felt massive guilt about bringing him into the political games, and his his political sacrifice necessitating being necessary, but
bringing it back
to that guilt is what I'm saying. She didn't spread that guilt around to other people. She owned it. She made the decision, and she's living with it. Which that takes balls right there. That takes ovaries right there, because balls are very sensitive. Let's just go ahead and put that out there. Saying somebody has that is like saying they have very thin skin and they're easily hurt. Go ahead.
She almost gave me J. Edgar Hoover vibes with all of the backdoor manipulating that she was doing and intel that she was gaining, but the only difference between her and Hoover, she wasn't using it for nefarious reasons. Hoover was more of a, he's in a bubble all by himself, the kind of stuff that he was doing, but the method, the tactics and the methods that she used, being manipulative and being able to gain information through clandestine means in order to ascertain truth. But I think that experience with her friend, I think also made her think twice about how she goes about gaining the intel that she gets and how she uses it, because that, the ultimate, he became like the ultimate sacrificial lamb, to the point where now she was now in the line of fire, because if he got killed, she was obviously next, and she knew that.
Right.
Oh, they cried for her. They tried to come for her.
Yep. So it was very important when she brought Katyar into her inner circle, because he played that role where he was the meat shield. But seriously, it was his job. His job two jobs. Okay, there's the information, the intel gathering, all of those things, those black ops behind the doors, under the table type communications, all of that super woo woo stuff, that secret stuff to keep her safe, because if any of these inquiries or communications were found to be out in the open, she would have been branded a traitor and drummed out of the UNN. But he also was there to be, personal shield and protector, and head of her security, because who else could she trust at that particular point in her life? Everything that, everyone that she'd been working with, she knew she couldn't trust, because she had discovered just what a worm that Aaron Wright was, and that he was already in bed with Jules Pierre. And they had been plotting this, this takeover for, quite a while. They're very, very far along on this game. And she was in a position where she was having to play catch up, which is not, a very comfortable position for her, because she's always been the person who knew before everybody else in the room did. She knew. So go ahead, Court.
This was supposed to be a conversation about how her wardrobe is affecting her politics. Can I just mention, though, that we could do all the politics, but I just wanted to mention really quickly, while she was going through that after her friend's death, she really did soften for a minute. She wore like gold and light purple, and she wore her hair in a down braid. And when she went to speak to his partner, she looked like a sad woman. And it wasn't like fake. I don't think she put it on. Like, it was real. It was like, this is me with my hair down I was in a braid, but it was like looser, and
literally letting her hair down.
She just looked like she was going there as his friend and in mourning. She didn't look like she was going there in her power outfit. So seeing that contrast for me, it's not like every single day she's rocking this bold bling. It's like a conscious choice for her, and it reflects, my outfits totally reflect my mood. Like, if I'm feeling lazy, you get me in a t-shirt and leggings, whether we're doing a stream on Bling or not. You know what I mean?
And think about when we're introduced, when she is meeting, the Martian the ambassador, her friend, her old friend, and she's wearing a traditional sari, but she's not wearing it in a traditional way. The way that she presents herself is very soft, very girlish, very flirtatious. It's not very tightly wrapped. It's kind of loose around the edges and flowing around her. Her hair is very
home.
Well, this is at the UNN. When she's just having that pre-meeting with him, and they're like going to go have a drink or whatever and talk, and we're just good friends. And she's very girlish, she's just invoking those old feelings of childhood and memories. And remember when we were so much younger, and all these good memories and times that we've shared. So
that was her dad's friend. So he really knew her as a little girl.
A little girl, yes. So she's just invoking all of these types of moods and feelings and memories just by how she's dressed. And she could have just taken the same outfit, worn it, wrapped it in a different way, and it would have projected a different type of feeling and emotion. So another one of my favorite outfits that she wears is I think she's once again she's in the Situation Room, and behind her there's the the Great Seal of the UNN with the blue, the very deep color blue, and she's dressed exactly in that same shade of blue, where she's being very patriotic. She is there to represent Earth, the UNN, during the Martian what do we call it? It would be like the
Inquisition
with Bobby. favorite of all of her dresses with the ruffled sleeve on one side. Oh my goodness, she kills it in that meeting. She is so feminine and so badass.
And she's very much being the representative of Earth right there, wearing the traditional colors of, the UNN flag. Not the golds, not the reds, not, she is wearing the colors of Earth. And she is very much Earth's representative at that point. And what
That's
a badass.
When he says, where are you going with this? And she says, wherever I goddamn like. I love that. I love that. Did you notice that?
I love how, but when you come, I think at that point they have to let her have it, because she's reached an age in her life where she doesn't have to mince words, right? She can pretty much just say whatever is in her head, and they can't, they're clapping back at her is useless and pointless. And that is a privilege that she gets to walk in, which I think she knows and she takes full advantage of.
And that's also part of the mask that she's wearing, along with her designer saris, her fabulous jewelry, which, by the way, in season 1, that was her jewelry. And
really,
there's a story. Lady Leaf has been sending me a lot of little things. When they were filming in Toronto, and she flew ahead, she flew up there, and she had her husband to box up and ship several pieces, like $100,000 worth of her own individual jewelry. And she got a call from Customs Border Patrol Canada to she had to come down and sign for it and pay taxes on it and everything, because they thought she was trying to illegally import jewelry that she had purchased in the United States. And it was, so she had to go down. It took forever to clear this up. And by the time she made it back for the shoot, she was 10 minutes before the shoot was getting ready to start. Even though, yes, she got her jewelry, but she's like, never again. After this, we'll just use whatever the studio comes up with. But those, season 1, if you're looking at that bling, that is Sharea's bling.
I mean, she inspires me. I made everything I'm wearing right now based off of her bling.
Oh yeah, the woman has got some very, very nice jewelry.
Oh my god, those acrylic cube earrings, I would kill for those. They're amazing.
Yeah, the one she has the blue, the very turquoise blue sari that's got this this gold necklace that she wears that just fills the entire neckline of it, that has this
with all the little
with all the little squares inside of her diamonds
of color. And she's got a plunging neckline there, which she does not do a lot of, but the jewelry covers the entire space. She's not even showing any skin.
And that's something else that we should bring up too, is how she's able to be so feminine, be so beautiful, be so gorgeous, and show so very little skin, which is how anti-Hollywood is that, when they have the philosophy of, if you got it, flaunt it, and if you don't want to flaunt it, you still have to flaunt it because we wrote it that way.
The actress is adamant about that. She said that when she went into acting, she was a serious method actor. She was not going to be a starlet. Her dad has never seen her naked on screen, and that is a conscious choice on her part. She's meticulous about the roles she chooses, the statement that they make, the meaning behind them. But she is an empowered woman in her own right, not just her character.
Yes, the one outfit that she wears in season 3, that is you see every inch, every curve of her form is in Julie's flight suit. You see
Yes,
and it is zipped
all the way up.
you see nothing. You never see anything but her face. But
and
it
she
is
still looks so hot in it.
it is one of the sexiest outfits that the woman wears. She's like I said, you are seeing every curve and
Preach.
yes. Yes.
In that scene, her hair is
good.
so simple. She doesn't have her staff. I mean, we've seen her with the entire staff putting on the paint and doing the fancy hair. She doesn't have any of that on the Rossi. Her hair is just in a basic bun, and she looks stunning.
Yes.
Just simple and stunning.
And she still commands the room. And she
does.
still commands whatever room she's in.
And that flight suit, that was a very conscious choice of what she wore, because Stephen, that was the skin of her enemy, the Mao, Jules Pierre Mao's literal skin,
Yep.
So that, yes, it was a
well
power.
Said.
And then, it was so funny how Bobby said, well, does that mean I'm wearing the skin of my ex? Because she was wearing the Martian Oh, you gotta love Bobby.
Yeah.
Somebody in the stream a little further up, when you were saying how she hired basically the bodyguard / spy, like Bobby, if it weren't for Bobby, she never would have survived that encounter.
Absolutely no. It was a group effort.
I agreed 100% with whoever said that. But at the time, someone else was speaking, and I was trying not to interrupt. But
yeah, it's hard to. Alicia, she could get it. It's hard to keep up with everything. That's in
Helen
the chat.
Mirren is like absolutely gorgeous. Her. And I can see Kate Blanchett as she ages.
Oh,
she's gonna, there's some women that they just age so beautifully.
I mean, there's also Botox. Let's be honest. Nobody's buying that she hasn't had any work. If you've seen pictures of Sharia in her 20s, she has a very different nose. But
that
she
being said,
is a beautiful older woman.
That being said,
whatever they did, it fits her face well. Like I'm not opposed to any like cosmetic surgery. Like I get it.
Steven too. She has to succeed in Hollywood. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So I get it. I get that's part of it. It's just that some people, they take it overboard and they like their face gets so distorted that it becomes a little bit weird looking. But I can understand making changes or subtle changes or some changes in order to enhance whatever it is that features that you already have to present a better package. I mean, we all do it, whether we do it cosmetically or through, shapewear, clothes, or, makeup or whatever it is. We do a little something to kind of enhance ourselves ever so slightly to, present like a more prettier version of ourselves, right? And I think it looks great on her. I like it.
Yeah, she's got the most beautiful skin. Her skin is flawless. I mean, how does she do it? I have no idea. So
that's a Stephen too. We've talked about women in politics, but like women in Hollywood, they could have chosen. I showed you the troll-looking woman that like the RPG.
Any woman who's in the public eye has these same things that they have to deal with, because they are going to draw flack for what they look like. Their physical presentation is judged before any words come out of their mouth.
Yes, and of course that's true in Hollywood too. And of course, we just take it for granted that television shows in America, I will give it to some other countries. Like when I lived in England, their soap opera stars look like normal people. They've changed it some now, but at that time, like the old man at the bar was the old man at the bar, But but American television always does that. They always hot it up. I mean, look at Game of Thrones, how they aged everybody up so they could show them naked.
So they can be sexed,
Yeah, and
That's
I mean,
so.
you just take it for granted on American television that this like little old grandmother is going to be someone as stunning as Shreya. Like, but she is stunning.
I think they kind of also do that because they're trying to appeal to it's all about appealing to the audience, right? Because if most of the time they were to actually portray the characters on screen how they really are described in the books, they tend to probably lose most of the audience that they probably would have gotten, right? But I think they kind of I think they sell their audience short. Like they don't give us enough credit that we wouldn't still appreciate the show because it's not really always about how the actor looks. It's their performance. Because when an actor performs, it doesn't matter whether they're attractive or not. You're still going to get sucked into the performance because they've really embodied the character, right?
Yeah.
But
I hung
think
on every
again,
episode of those British soaps because they reminded me of the people that were like in my life. I identified with them.
Right.
And everyone looked different. There were
illustrates-
6 hot
I think
blondes,
that's
all like that. I had to try to keep track of which white boy with blonde spiky hair was that again? Like, what's his name? You know?
I get it.
Yes. And, I mean, you do get some crossovers like it's like Benedict Cumberbatch. Not what most people would think of as in the United States as, traditionally like.
I like him.
And of course, I like him too. That's why I bring him up. But, a lot of people think, oh, he's kind of, but, it's British. So that gives him like 2 extra hot points. So
that accent, man, I'm telling you.
Yeah.
It fooled me several times.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're at
But
3.
we now live in a very vain society, right? We live in a society that's quite vain now. Like everything is about looks, how you look, how tall are you, or how short are you, or how skin are you, or how big is your butt, or how round is your butt, how big are your boobs, how are they perfect, are they proportionate, are your lips full, are your eyes of equal distance from each other, or did you blend your makeup right? I mean, everything is about superficial look. And again, and I'm gonna hit on the patriarchy a buzzword. It's all because of that, right? Because it's all because of that. Because again, men drive a lot of the things that we see in society. They drive that. The beauty standard is driven by men. The way that women present, and whether we want to admit it to ourselves or not, we on some level kind of fall victim to that on some level or some degree. Some of us, we've come to a place where we don't let it like rule our everyday. We don't get so bogged down by it. Like we start to do things for ourselves and not necessarily for everybody else. But if you've got a partner or if you've got somebody, a significant other, you may want to look nice for them, but you're not going to go to the extreme. But then when you have others who are very vulnerable, especially when you're talking about as young as grade school now. When I was in grade school, I didn't care what I looked like. Like my hair was always a mess. Like my grandmother would comb my hair. By the time I came home, it was like all over the place. Like I did not care what I looked like. I think I didn't start caring about what I looked like until I entered high school. And so, but now the pressure of the pressure to be beautiful and to be acceptable and to look good and to look pretty and all this other stuff, it's hitting our generation a lot younger and younger. And again, it's all driven by this, by this male ideology of what the standard of beauty is, because a lot of women, they don't necessarily look to other women to validate their beauty. A lot of them, they look to men to validate their beauty, other than, you know, if you don't really give a fuck, excuse my French, if you don't really care about that, you know what I mean? But as a whole, in general.
I mean, I'd like to argue that, like, I work with all women and we totally dress for each other. We do not, like, we put on prettier clothes and makeup for each other so we can walk into the building and be like, oh, I love your shoes. Way more than any of us do for our partners. But I will argue that the standard of what we consider pretty is 100% influenced by the patriarchy. I mean, they have defined it. It is bred into us from the time we're young. We're looking at these images of what is considered beautiful women. And a lot of times the choices of who represents us as a sex, as a gender, is, you know, chosen by men. So the women that we see on television, the women that we are told to idolize in pop culture are, you know, stereotypically pretty by the male standard. Right. Personally, what I find unique is what I find beautiful. Like, so I am very drawn to people of cultures that I have no connection to, or like, I mean, you know, my husband's Native American. Who even knows what Native Americans look like in America? They killed them all, you know, like, okay. But I mean, that's my point. Like, I think that women can appreciate beauty that is not the stereotypical patriarchal beauty, but I do think that we are all influenced by the standard that they created.
Yes, I had to explain I had to explain to my current husband about why, or what is it. I mean, we were just having a conversation. What is it about shoes and handbags? What is it with women about shoes and handbags? And I had to explain to him. I said, you can be round, tall, fat, thin. You can look any kind of way and still wear a gorgeous handbag. It doesn't matter what your physical description is, but you can rock a gorgeous handbag. It doesn't, I mean, you can be 400 pounds and still have a great pair of shoes on. You can still rock a great pair of shoes. All of these things, most fashion isn't made for the average person to wear. It is not. It is made for a 6 foot tall, 100-pound stick. Or, yes, the
not a 5'2" girl with a booty.
Exactly. No, not for any of us thick girls out there. Not for any of us round girls out there. Certainly not for any of us who, you know, are a little more than
you are thick. Amazing and beautiful, and we love you.
Well, thank you very much, because I don't care. I mean, I care what you say, but I don't care about it.
It's for your girl.
I'm comfortable in this fat skin that I have. So, but yes, and he's like, so it's all about being able to have that confidence and that self confidence, and just know that you've got something great on. And I'm like, absolutely,
like a Lady Leaf necklace.
Because one thing, women recognize what handbag. A man will not recognize what handbag they're wearing. He doesn't care. He doesn't know. That is for your self-image, your self-confidence, and other women to see. Now, there are men out there that know a good bag when they see them. There are. And I'm kind of being a little stereotypical here when I say that. Okay? I fully admit that. But yes, you have got your bag, you have got your bling, your bag, all of your accessories, every little piece extra that you adorn yourself with that makes you just have that little extra oomph. You know, that is all, you know, anyone can wear that. Anybody can wear beautiful jewelry.
Anyone can compliment you on it and start a conversation with you. Like, I've been in the grocery store, and, you know, I live in a city where we don't necessarily just, like, hey, how's your mama to every person that we see. But like, I've had a woman walk up to me and be like, I love your bag. And we're like best friends. Like, we have a 10-minute conversation in the grocery store about purses and like thrift store shopping. And, you know,
Absolutely. You know,
listen, I have an absolutely obscene handbag and shoe collection. Like,
everyone,
I'm like bordering Imelda Marcos type level, like shoe and handbag.
Ooh, girl.
Like, when I tell you, but listen, my whole shoes and handbag would need a closet of their own, but unfortunately they don't. You know what I mean? They just gotta fit in where they get in. But my handbags and my shoes are my statement pieces, because I'm a jeans and t-shirt kind of girl. So my handbag and my shoes are what are my statement pieces. Those are the things that stand out. So I wear heels and I wear handbags when I wear jeans and a t-shirt. That's how I get down. You know what I mean? Or I'll have like a very fancy backpack that I wear if I want to wear sneakers and something. So there is an intimate relationship that women have with shoes and handbags. No matter what walk of life you're in, there is an intimate relationship that you have whenever you get that a beautiful pair of shoes, whatever that is for you, and you get a beautiful handbag, whatever that is for you, and the confidence that you feel and how beautiful you feel when you are sporting that. There's nothing like it.
And those are things that men don't notice. So those are items of beauty that we definitely don't do for them. And those are the ones we compliment about each other the most. Like, if I walk up to you and you are wearing some fly shoes, I am going to tell you if you're a total stranger on the street. And like, I have social anxiety. I don't just walk up to people on the street. But if you walk up to someone and you're like, oh my God, your shoes, there's no stress in that interaction. They already love you. Every woman will talk about her shoes.
Because they know those shoes look good. You know, it's not weird or creepy at all. Yeah. You know, they wore those shoes just for you, just so that they feel good and they are confident and they feel pretty. They feel pretty on the inside. They feel, they just project that confidence.
And I think that's something we definitely do for each other way more than we do. Like, my husband doesn't care what shoes I'm wearing. He really doesn't. He doesn't even notice. He's just annoyed because if we go out in the city, I don't want to walk 5 blocks from where we park the car.
Because you're wearing the good shoes.
Yeah, because I'm wearing cute shoes.
Why did you wear those shoes? You knew we were going to have to walk.
Like, why don't you just wear flats? I'm like, because I look hot in these.
Because these shoes make
me and you notice how you walk differently, right? You walk differently. Absolutely. It's like you have a more, oh my God. I know, like, when I'm walking in my prettiest shoes and I've got my prettiest handbag, my head is like up a little bit more. Like, I'm just like walking around and your aura just exudes out, right? So that Absolutely. People are forced to have to look at you. They probably wouldn't have looked at you any other day, but this day, your aura is exuding out and people will start to look at you. Somebody might smile at you. Somebody say, like, you look good. Oh, that's a nice, you know what I mean? And it only adds to the ambiance. You know what I mean? It adds to that.
And so I don't know about
just a little insight for all the dudes out there.
But if a dude out there, I'm walking down the street and he's just like, damn, girl, you look good, it's annoying. But if a woman walks up to you and is like, oh my God, I love those shoes, you're like, thank you. That's the best compliment I got all day. And you know what? When women compliment each other, it tends to be on like your handbag, on your shoes. It is not like, oh my God, that ass looks juicy in those jeans, girl. You know?
Sorry. All right. Courtney, I'm just going to have to cut in here. I tried to do it a few minutes ago when we got on a whole nother topic, but that's fine. So yeah, this is the point in the show where I like to take a break, do my mid roll, and thank my lovely guests for coming. I thank all of my lovely audience for taking time out of their day to come and listen to me and my friend chat about whatever. And I just want to thank each and every one of you for being here today. We've got Alicia Kingston. Girl, thank you for coming on the other day. Amy Blackfire, of course, I've already said, Betsy Mother of Starks. We've got Kate Bertinsky, Wheezy Squeezebox, Aaron M., Sontavia Major, Here Be Dragons. Who's that? Just gonna scroll up the chat here and see if I see any new or old friends. Oh, Lady Leaf, I'm so glad you're here. Necklace looks gorge, girl. Geordie Jedi, and who is this Courtney Mazza? I don't know who that is.
I don't know that girl, but she won't stop talking, even in the chat.
Yeah, I mean, give her a mic. Oh my God. Yeah. So thanks each and every one of you for being here. I couldn't do this without you. You're the reason that I do this. Week after week. And I really do. I just appreciate you for being here to listen to me just ramble on about my rambling. So
I know, right? We like totally moved from Avasarala into like just girl talk.
Well, I mean, this is important stuff. We're talking about shoes. Oh, right. Ridiculous Ed. What's up, dude? I never see you here on my streams. That's awesome. Thank you for being here. We did lose Manaro, but I think she's going to be. I just added her back in. Manaro, are you with us, girl?
Yes. Sorry about that. It's storming by me, and so my internet is like intermittent. So
yeah, we understand.
Hoping that it'll last a little bit longer till the end.
Well, so far so good. Cross your fingers. Anytime, if you got to back out, pop back in, it's fine. We love you, girl. So let's talk about Avasarala for just a little bit. I mean, I know this is a stream about her, so let's just talk about her for a little bit. She is not your typical political animal in what we would see. She's not likable. Let's just put it that way. She is when she does her public speaking, when she's dealing with other people on the same level, she is not what you would call very pleasing. She doesn't try to ingratiate herself so much as insert herself. She doesn't use the tools that would be expected of a woman to maintain those types of relationships. Not that, oh, honey, sweetie, honey, oh, let me flatter you a little bit. Oh, let me feed to your ego a little bit. And oh, let me get my way. No, absolutely. She does not do that. In the words of someone today might say, that is a quote unquote nasty woman. Yes, I said that.
You notice when she interacts with Admiral Souther, how she just walks in and she's like, I know you hate me. I'll start. I'm a cold-hearted bitch. And he finishes with like, you're one of the worst people I have ever met. And then they get down to business and like are real with each other. And I respect people like that are just straight. Like, I'm from Jersey, Manaro's from New York. I know she knows like the culture there is not like, bless your sweetheart. It is very much like you know where you stand with me. And I'm not actively rude to anyone. I'm not actively mean to anyone, but like, I'm also not going to shit anyone that I need to waste.
I had a hard time when I'm sorry.
No, please.
I had a hard time when I had first joined the Navy because the milk, when you're in that type of a setting, especially when you're dealing with leaders, I learned over time how to be more tactful. But when I first started out, tact wasn't like my strong suit. I was a straight shooter because that's all I knew. That's how I grew up. We were all straight shooters. Everybody told you exactly what was on their mind. They told you how it was. They didn't sugarcoat it. They didn't make it sound nice. They didn't put like, whipped cream on it. They just told you exactly what the situation was, and you either had to like deal with it or swallow it or whatever it is that you had to do with it, do what you needed to do with it. And I had to learn over time that, listen, there is a way of still communicating the things that you want to communicate, but use your words wisely, right? Because these are people that you have to deal with on a day-to-day basis.
Yes, and being a woman,
and so you have to. But then again, like I said, she had the privilege of age, right? When you reach a certain age, you don't really need to mince your words. You don't really need to truly be tactful, because you, by virtue of time and experience, you've earned the right to just say whatever you want to say. You know what I mean? Or get your point across however you need to get your point across.
That's true. I moved to DC in my 20s, and being a mouthy Jersey girl in like a political, polite place, it's not cute. Like, I definitely did have to learn tact, but I also fully, like, I respect people like Avasarala who just say what they think because I know where I stand with them.
So yes, I'm from the South. Obviously, you can hear it in my voice, and things are and have been a little different here forever. And I was raised in a very traditional type family there. Let's just, paint it with patriarchy, however you want to wish. Very, very traditional Southern religious family. But that all being said, the women in the family also, and the women around me also projected quite a bit of power and influence. It was very soft power. It was they were extremely, extremely reserved. And when they did speak, it was always with clarity, with reason, and it just brooked no, you didn't have any leeway with it. What was said was what was said, and this is the end. And the term steel magnolias was very much could be related to someone like my grandmother or my mother, who were these very, very strong women who had things, who endured. They were very enduring and never let anything like beat them down. They always rose above it. They always kept their head up no matter what the situation was. And they projected that calm, cool power. It wasn't like brash and in your face, but it was always there. So you knew that no matter what the situation was, you could ask them and they would give you the absolutely perfect advice. If you were having to deal with any type of situation, any problem, anything, you could always go to them and they would tell you how to manage. Let's see, manage, that's not a great word, but how to work. Yeah, how to handle that situation. Like, they would have my mother, just for an example. Okay. My mother had polio when she was 2, and she always was viewed as someone who was crippled, handicapped, had all those stigma on her. She was a beautiful woman, but she walked with crutches or with some type of adaptive advice or a brace or what have you on her. We would go. I went with her one of the last few in the latter years of her life. She's was in her 70s, to go and buy a vehicle. And you would think every person in that dealership was afraid of this tiny, very powerful woman, because just of how she just the aura that she exuded. She took nothing from them. whenever she always made all the business deals, every bit of it, every transaction, every purchase, everything. She was the negotiator. She was a hard line. She went to get what she wanted. She got what she wanted and a little bit extra. And they were happy to do it for her. And can we do something more for you? So she reminded me, and didn't cuss. The woman never said any, well, maybe.
And you said she never raised her voice.
Never raised her voice. And there was the manager of the dealership was this, he was like 6'4", like this big burly guy. And, he's coming out and he's gonna like set this lady straight. And she just tells him exactly how it is. And he has no recourse but to completely agree with her because, one, her logic is sound. Two, the way she's presenting herself, he just had no comeback for that. And he was just like, yes, ma'am, I'll take care of it. So, a lot of people, that's not, people are different everywhere. But this is kind of like a traditional type role that Southern women have. Times change, people change. Not everybody is the same, just like everybody in New York or everybody in Jersey or everybody in Baltimore or everybody in California. We're not all the same, but there's like stereotypes that kind of float in certain areas of the country. And
and yet we all love each other.
We all love each other. So it's just, there's different ways. They wielded more of that soft power, that soft feminine power, but yet still got the job done because they were not physically intimidating people, but yet they got the job done. So,
yeah, John's so cute.
Yeah, it could be charisma, Stephen. That's true. It could be something like that. But, they're very not.
Oh, this is fascinating, Stephen. I have the role play statistics of Avasarala. So her talents are contacts, executive, intrigue, and oratory. I don't know whether that has anything to do with D&D, but
she definitely is an orator.
Oh, absolutely. That she can make you think something was your idea, which is someone who is a true orator's gift.
Yeah, that's I can't speak for like Southern women in general, but that is a tactic that my mother-in-law employs beautifully. Like mine. I love her, first of all. Like, this is not an insult, but like she told me that that's how I should interact with my husband. And I see her do it to him and it works. Oh my God, it's magical. It's just not something I've ever mastered. Like, when I want something, I'm going to tell you exactly what I want. I'm going to tell you need to do it. Mm-hmm. She is incredible at that. Like, making you think it's your own idea and that you really want to do it.
Mm-hmm. And you're glad to do it.
Yes. And by the time I've had a conversation with her, or he's had a conversation with her, we actually do want to do it.
Yeah. Yep. She's from Louisiana. Is that correct? Yeah. Deep South. Deep South. Yeah.
Yeah. So having a mouthy Jersey girl enter into the family was interesting for everyone. But we love each other. Nessie, did you freeze or did I lose something? Monaro, are you seeing Nessie frozen?
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah. Was it Nessie that froze or was it my internet?
No, I think it was mine, which is weird. Okay. I wonder if we're getting...
Well, I can't tell because my internet sometimes go in and out, but I think there she is. Yeah. There's a storm here, so
I think we're getting ready to have a storm here too. So, just for that, I think maybe we might need to wrap up a little bit early today. I would have liked to have gone for 2 hours. So we've got about 30 minutes left in that span. And I just want to ask, each of my guests if there is any final comments, any points, anything, Courtney, that you feel like you need to say, anything, Manaro, that you feel like you would like to say. Take a few minutes and go ahead. Either one of you, flip a coin.
It's hard without facial cues to understand whether
I'm going to go ahead and put myself back on screen because the reason why I took myself off of screen is because I thought maybe it would help with the internet and not using that much bandwidth if I took myself off screen. But the one thing that I wanted to say is be colorful in a sea of gray. That is what I have learned from Avasarala. And don't take no shit from anybody.
Absolutely. One thing that I just thought was fascinating with her, since we were talking about how wardrobe influences her political decisions, is that if you notice, first of all, I think Amazon did an amazing job of making her the pop of color in the room. I think they really embraced that from the books because she's the contrast, she's the light, and you don't see as much of her, but every time you do, I mean, even when they're on New Terra, everything is bleak, everything is bland, and then they pop to Avasarala, and it's just like a bright, bold color. And it might be her coloring, but I did notice that when she is in a political situation, she's always wearing strong, cool colors. Even if it's a purple, it's a plum, it's a deep, vibrant, if it's red, it's maroon. When she goes to speak to Holden's mom, she wears that bright, warm red. She exudes fire, but also passion and love. And when she speaks to her friend's partner after he's passed, she's in warm colors. She's in gold and violet, soft pastels. And that's one of the few times that we really see her in pastels. And it just fascinates me that she's making those choices because they are artistic choices for the show and, for a character that I think a lot of us probably make in life, And I love that in the show. I said this to the ladies when we were having our pre-chat, they really, for two male authors, they nailed this woman because when she is going into a political situation, they take the time. And these are not long, dense books. You guys know I love me some 14 book, 5,000 page. I love me some long, dense books. These are not. Every word counts, but they still take the time to have this woman select the accessories, select the sari for the situation. And you are in her head, in her point of view characters where she's making these choices. And that's so real to me that two men could write this because I read a lot and a lot of what I read is written by men. And they might try, they make an effort. I brought up, the Malazan, Stephen Erickson, he makes an effort to create an egalitarian society, but he is still writing from the voice of a man, even when he's writing female characters. And these two men nailed this character, nailed her, made her relatable, took the time to have her put thought into these choices. This topic that we're discussing here, it is a legitimate consideration that people make going into public situations, especially positions of power. And I loved the way Nessie worded the description for this because it is just spot on. If you have not clicked the little click it down and read the description, please do. Manaro's channel is on there, Nessie's channel is on there. Give it a like, make sure you do all those things. And I just had two quotes from her that I wanted to read before that I like you know me, I take so many notes, but these
Go
notes,
for it.
this is just these little quotes I wanted to get in there. Oh God, now I flipped while I was showing you my notes. Okay. So the war does not end when people put down their guns. It ends when they reconcile. Until then, the war has only paused. And never listen to what people say. Just watch what they do. And that is a skill that she has. Like, that is a skill. And it is a skill. You know, I live half a mile outside Washington, D.C. I work in the city. Like, people are more political here, even in like normal life. And, you know, there are people in DC politics that just say what you want them to hear, but like really take the time to look into what their policies are and how they act on them, because they don't always line up. And I think that's an important insight that she has, and it's something we can all learn. That's
right. Yep. You learn more about watching what people do when they think other people aren't watching them. Not what they say, but what they do. And that's a truism that we can all take to heart.
Don't freeze again, Ness. We need you. I guess this is why she wanted to cut it short. Sorry, guys. I love that Sean's still sticking with us, even though we're like basically just talking shoes and handbags. That's a good man. Thanks, Sean. Man bags used to Betsy. I love her. My husband carries a man bag. He calls it a camera bag, but I call it his purse. Okay, go ahead, Ness.
All right, I'm back. Okay, yeah, gonna wrap this up real quick before the sky falls out.
A man
bag.
Well,
yes,
it is a camera bag, but
they're great, Steven. You should get one. Yes, she wears her outfit like armor. Whatever she wears, she is wrapping herself within it. It is both
yes,
a
we said that's her power armor.
It is a weapon and a defense, all wrapped up in this beautiful package with a bow on top. When she packs just for an overnight trip to see Jules Pierre Mount, she takes freaking ball gowns because you never know what you might need.
No, that was a ploy. They labeled it for there, but it was Bobby's power armor suit, and they put it basically in a garment container.
I know that, but it was mixed in with all of Avasarala's clothing that she was taking. So I thought it was just like an inside joke that yes, Bobby's armor is marked as ball gowns, whereas Avasarala's ball gowns are her armor.
Yes.
So with that little bit, I think we're going to go ahead and sign off before the big storm hits. Thank each and every one of you for being here. Manaro, what you got coming up? Manaro?
What do I have coming up? I have no idea.
Okay.
Just subscribe to my channel and then be surprised.
So you're still beating me.
Surprised by whatever you see pop up there.
Right. Subscribe to Manaro's channel. She's great. Hopefully we'll get another ginger ale chat real soon. You know, hit me up. Courtney, you got anything besides school teacher life going on?
I'm a teacher and a mom. I like coming on and BSing with you guys. It's fun, but like I don't have a channel I want you to follow. I have a channel for my students, but you don't want to watch those videos.
But you do run the largest Game of Thrones Facebook group
in the world. We have like 270,000 people. It is a Game of Thrones, a Realm of Ice and Fire. A Game of Thrones is all capitalized, and it's lots of fun. Like I was about to say like every creator you've ever heard of, but I don't think Manaro's in my group. But
well, I like to let people know that I'm not really on Facebook really. Like it's not because I don't want to be. I find a lot of those huge platforms a little bit overwhelming. So my social media footprint is very, very small. So, but I will log in and I will join the Facebook group, but you probably won't see me be too interactive because I'm not really huge on a lot of social media platforms. I just, again, like I find them a little bit too overwhelming and I'm like, I can't keep up. And so it's just best for me not to.
And it is busy and running it is a lot of work. But I kind of, I mean, I guess a little bit less now, but like I was a little obsessed. Like I love those books to this day. And I got very excited. And next thing you know, 270,000 people. But it's fun.
And currently, I've got a few irons in the fire. Nothing has really been like set in stone yet, but I'm working with Maester Mary and Clint from Laws of Ice and Fire to have have the Westerosi Bar Association come to the channel and have a mock trial sometime in the very near future. We're thinking like maybe toward the end of the month. So be on the lookout for that. And I believe I think maybe I'm going to have this guy called Steven Stark. You may have heard of him.
I've heard of him. He did that. I know that geek. I think one of his guests was Courtney Mazza. I don't know.
Yes. So yeah, Steven is going to come on my channel also in the near future, and we're going to kind of like talk about all the creatures from that I've been discussing in the Magical Menagerie series, as how it reflects on things like Magic the Gathering, D&D, maybe even a little sprinkling of Pokemon. You never know. But yeah, we're going to talk about all of that in the upcoming weeks. So stay tuned for that. And until then, thank you for coming. I love each and every one of you. Thank you. And we'll see you on the next one.
Love you.
Bye. I'm still hitting end.